you? Because you're sourcing, right? You're sourcing from Rishikesh, so has it changed for you?
Sourcing from all over India.
All over India, correct.
It's still in place. Things will change because it's just come in the free trade concept. But things are going to get better. And with Narendra Modi ji in power, we see, and the new government, we'll see what the collaboration is, and we look forward to the success.
Yeah, because this entire actor was first thought during Kevin Rudd's time, if I remember.
Yes.
And it was talked about during ScoMo's time, it started picking up, Scott Morrison's time, and then eventually got inked when the government changed in November. So what has changed, Reena? Let me ask you.
I suppose the most important part is that Modi ji has done one thing, not just put India on the map of the world, but also put the business side aspect of India on the map of the world. India does not need to be a follower. That is number one. India is an independent, a democratic country which can think for itself and have its own 2 feet. India has the biggest resource, the manpower, the educated, skilled manpower, which is every country's need right now.
Right.
So imagine that country, India, which was known for its culture, religion, the diversity, the color. But now it is known for being the most productive, progressive trade agreements, and the sector has just evolved.
The pride had never gone from Indians. We were always very proud of our country, but now it has come to center stage where it's getting acknowledged all over.
It is getting acknowledged.
Others can see it, and then we've added such a lot of color and life into the place with our food, with our festivities, with all of that. So I think we have really enhanced the flavor of Australia. So we're very proud.
And our kids are happy.
Kids are
that's
happy?
the best part. I mean, their heritage, they want to know. I think that's what makes us proud as immigrants, that our kids are proud of our heritage, and that's what holds value for us.
Fair
And
value.
to be proud, they are asking to learn the mother tongue Hindi.
Hindi.
That's the most important part. My 8-year-old has actually started attending Hindi school over the weekends on Sunday mornings, and he said, I want to speak to Modi ji in Hindi. That's a proud thing.
There's a big reception that's being planned, Kudos Arena. How many of you, Kudos Bank Arena, how many of you are going? All of you going? Yeah, you're all
My
going?
kids are going as well. So
Kids are going as well. So what are you expecting from him?
I think it's just amazing to listen to him. I
His
was
aura.
there at
Okay.
2014, and now I'm looking forward to hearing him once
So
again.
let me ask you, 2014, 9 years, 30th May, he completes 9 years in power. So 2023, what's changed or what's evolved with PM Modi? If you were to look at him and say, one thing that I think I've seen you evolve
His
as a leader.
persona, I think it's just his image. I think he knew what he's doing. Let everyone talk, it doesn't matter. I'm going to do what I have. Our plan to make India a better nation, I am going to do it. So the things that he's done, we have seen the growth of people in India as well as people who've come here. There has just been growth and growth. So
absolute growth.
hats off to him.
Right.
Amazing.
He's fearless. He's fearless. He does not hold back. He has proven to the world that no one can stop India.
No one can stop
can stop India, and that is what we are so proud of him. He has proved it. He has shown that when he speaks something, he means it, and he will deliver it.
Well, let's hope. We're all looking forward to that conversation and that reception at the Kudos Bank Arena. Ladies, lovely speaking with you. And it's just an amazing cruise, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to keep this conversation short because we've got to pull out our phones and take some memorable pictures. That's what we need to do. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, the last time I was here in Sydney, I had gone to a public university. Right now, I find myself at the heart of one of the biggest private universities in Australia. This is the University of Victoria, or the Victoria University here in Sydney, Australia. A lot of students who are here, a lot of them studying IT, postgraduate programs, bachelor programs. Sabse pehle, hi everyone. I can't hear you. Hi everyone. Hi, that's better. See, so they see the news cameras and they get a little nervous. But let me first ask you, hi, what's your name?
My name is Sandeep Kaur.
Sandeep, hi. What's your name?
Akshata.
Akshita. So Sandeep and Akshita, where are you from in India?
I am from Punjab.
You're from Punjab.
And I am from Jammu.
I'm from Jammu. Wow. So what brings you to Australia?
The environment, the education system specifically.
So you applied to the Victoria University?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Who told you about this place?
I've searched on online.
You searched online.
Yeah.
And what
Yeah,
you-
me too. I also researched online and then just applied to Victoria University.
When did you come here to
May intake.
May intake?
I came last year.
Last year. So you've been about a year here. You've been just about a month.
Yeah.
So how do you find Sydney?
It's very interesting place.
Very interesting place.
Yeah.
घर की याद आ रही है बहुत.
Yeah,
Okay.
very homesick.
Very homesick. What you?
I'm loving it, like Sydney. Yeah.
yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you found accommodation in and around?
Yeah,
Sydney?
I'm living in a nearby city only. Yeah.
So how do you commute?
By train.
By train. Is it very expensive, Sydney?
It is, but still it's affordable.
It's still affordable. It's still
yeah.
affordable.
Yeah, if
Okay.
you're working, then it's like you can just manage.
You
and
can
balance.
manage. You can manage. Hi. What's your name?
Navjot Kaur.
Navjot, where are you from?
I'm from Haryana.
You're from Haryana. And what are you studying?
I'm studying Master in Business Administration.
So you're doing your MBA?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm also an MBA a long time back, but I studied back in India. How's the course here? You're in the first year, second year, which year?
This is my first year.
It's your first year.
1 month ago I came here.
1 month ago you came here, so it's quite new, isn't it?
Yes.
So how do you like this place?
This is where I think it is interesting.
Interesting.
And, yeah.
People are friendly?
Yeah.
So does this curriculum allow you to work while you're studying?
Yeah, for the 20 hours in a week, you can work.
20 hours in a week?
40 hours.
Yeah, now.
Now it's 40 hours.
Yeah.
No, but 40 hours निकल जाते हैं आपको पढ़ाई के साथ साथ 40 घंटे काम करने के निकल जाते हैं. Can you do it?
It is a little difficult, but after when you be habitual of the things, you can do it.
We can easily do, yeah.
You can easily do it.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Sure. How many of you are actually working part time also? Huh? You're all working. Hi, let me get your name. Huh?
I'm Rahul Gujar. I'm from Haryana, and here I'm doing Bachelor of IT.
Bachelor of IT, but you're also working here.
Yeah.
काम मिल जाता है?
Easily.
Huh?
Yeah, right now it's little difficult, but if you try, you will surely get a job.
You'll get a job. And here one thing is बड़ा छोटा कोई काम नहीं होता ना, कोई भी काम कर सकता है.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the best thing, right?
You have to do some other job. You don't have any choice. Like, no, you are not expecting your parents to support you here. Once they send you here, you have to afford it. You have to pay your rent. You have to pay the uni fees as well.
Yeah.
It's a big of a deal, but initially it will be very hard because of homesick. You're not getting the food that you know. You have to depend on the job. Some of the jobs are really hard, but once you get into it, then I think it's all right.
Where are you from?
I'm from Kerala.
What's your name?
George, just George.
George, what are you studying?
Bachelor's of Cybersecurity.
Bachelor's of Cybersecurity. Wow. So all of you guys, how many of you been here for more than a year now? No, just about a month ago you guys, you people have come. Huh. You find Sydney a friendly place?
Yeah.
It is? It is a friendly place? You're all right? You think it's safe? It's good?
Yeah, very safe.
Yeah, very safe. Now, you feel, how many of you guys want to actually work and pay for your education? All of you. All of you want to work and pay for it.
We have to maintain the timetable and we need to work side by side, and at free time we are doing our assignments and sometime already we are in the university.
With the university, but isn't it a tough life? Is it a tough life?
Yeah.
It is,
It is
but
tough, yes.
we can complete most of our work in the university.
You can complete your work in the
Yeah,
university. All of you guys, you think it's worth coming and studying in Australia?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Is it easy or difficult to figure this out, to come and study in Australia? Moderate. You say it is moderate. Huh? You say it is moderate. Yes. A little difficult, little easy. Yes. Huh? You think should this whole process be a little more easier? It should be. It should be.
It's already a little bit easy
Uh-huh.
because applying here wasn't that tough for me because I had I went to an agency and they helped me a lot. So I told them about my requirements, what I want to study, and where am I looking for, what am I looking for in a university. They suggested me about Victoria University, and I said okay, and they applied for me.
So and you're happy about your decision so far?
Yeah, I'm happy about my decision.
अच्छा, अगर आप पीएम से कुछ एक रिक्वेस्ट करना चाहेंगे कि स्टूडेंट्स के लिए आसान हो जाए, और तो आप में से कोई रिक्वेस्ट करना चाहेगा? कुछ आप कुछ करना चाहते हैं? हाँ, क्या आपका नाम?
बलप्रीत।
बलप्रीत। अच्छा, आप कहाँ से बलप्रीत?
हरियाणा से।
क्या रिक्वेस्ट करना चाहेंगे?
मैं पीएम मोदी से ये कहना चाहता हूँ कि वो हमारी पूरी मदद करें बाहर स्टडी करने में।
बाहर स्टडी करने में कैसे? स्कॉलरशिप
वगैरह।
हाँ, पर स्कॉलरशिप सरकार देगी कि यूनिवर्सिटी देगी?
कोई भी दे, हमें तो बस स्कॉलरशिप से मतलब है।
पर स्कॉलरशिप किस बेसिस पे मिलना चाहिए? मेरिट पे नहीं मिलना चाहिए, स्कोर्स पे मिलना चाहिए, कैसे मिलना चाहिए?
वो मतलब जितना हमें हेल्प कर सके वो अच्छा है, अगर मतलब एज अ गवर्नमेंट दे शुड हेल्प अस।
दे शुड हेल्प यू। तो स्कॉलरशिप्स या गवर्नमेंट अगर हेल्प करे, ग्रांट्स की तरह हेल्प करे। और कोई रिक्वेस्ट आप करना चाहेंगे? हाँ बोलिए।
राइट नाउ ऑस्ट्रेलियन गवर्नमेंट ने हरियाणा और पंजाब स्टूडेंट्स पे थोड़ा बैन लगाया है, थोड़े रेस्ट्रिक्शन लगाए हैं। तो आई वुड रिक्वेस्ट पीएम मोदी to sort this out so that all the students from Haryana and Punjab they can come easily here.
ਮੈਂ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਚਾਹੂੰਗਾ ਕਿ ਜੋ ਮਤਲਬ ਮੋਦੀ ਜੀ ਆ ਉਹੀ ਜੋ ਓਪਰਚੁਨਿਟੀ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਧੀਆ ਹੋਣ ਤੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਬਾਹਰ ਨਾ ਆਉਣ। ਮੇਨ ਚੀਜ਼ ਇਹ ਆ ਕਿ ਜੇ ਉਹ ਨੌਕਰੀ ਵਗੈਰਾ ਉੱਥੇ ਦੇਣ ਤੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਬਾਹਰ ਨਾ ਆਈਏ।
बाहर नहीं आई।
हाँ जी।
पर ये भी तो हो सकता है कि यही यूनिवर्सिटीज अगर इंडिया आ जाए तो हाँ हो अभी है, अभी कर सकते हैं, किया जा सकता है। अगर यही विक्टोरिया यूनिवर्सिटी अगर पंजाब आ जाए, विक्टोरिया यूनिवर्सिटी हरियाणा आ जाए, यूपी आ जाए, हाँ पॉसिबल।
हाउ इज इट पॉसिबल?
पॉसिबल करना चाहिए कि नहीं करना चाहिए?
करना तो चाहिए।
करना तो चाहिए ना।
बेनिफिट फॉर एवरी स्टूडेंट।
फॉर एवरी स्टूडेंट ना, कि अगर ये यूनिवर्सिटीज और ये करिकुलम अगर इंडिया आ जाए तो आपको यहाँ नहीं आना पड़ेगा। यही आप कह रहे हैं ना अरुणदीप?
एम्प्लॉयमेंट
आई थिंक यूनी वहाँ जा सकती है, बट जो यहाँ का एनवायरनमेंट है वो नहीं जा सकता। वहाँ पे एनवायरनमेंट इतना सेफ नहीं है।
एनवायरनमेंट सेफ नहीं
No.
है? आपको लगता है कैंपसेस में एनवायरनमेंट सेफ नहीं है?
मतलब ओवरऑल इंडिया में हमारा आपको पता ही है। जो एनवायरनमेंट हमें यहाँ है, जो सेफ्टी हमें यहाँ मिलती है, मैं रात को क्लास लगाती हूँ, मुझे कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, बट वो चीज़ इंडिया में नहीं हो सकती।
वो चीज इंडिया में अगर हो जाए तो
पीएम मोदी को उसके लिए करना चाहिए ना, वही तो करना है।
उसके लिए करना चाहिए
सर वो करना।
वो डिफिकल्ट है बहुत।
हाँ जी, जो एम्प्लॉयमेंट अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ वो वहाँ पे क्रिएट करनी चाहिए। मतलब सिर्फ हम यूनिवर्सिटी वहाँ पे ले जाएं और वो एकेडमिक्स हमें मिल जाएं, पर उसके साथ साथ हमें एम्प्लॉयमेंट अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ भी मिलनी
तो आप ये कह रहे हैं कि जब आप पढ़ रहे हैं यहाँ पर आप काम भी कर सकते हैं, एक ऐसा एनवायरनमेंट है कि आप पढ़ भी सकते हैं, काम भी कर सकते हैं, तो अर्न वैल्यू लर्न वाला काम हो सकता है, ये वहाँ पर नहीं है। दूसरा आप कह रहे हैं कि सेफ्टी का जो एनवायरनमेंट है वो, देखिए सेफ्टी तो कई बार जो है स्टेट गवर्नमेंट की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी भी होती है, लेकिन आप कह रहे हैं कि पीएम भी एक ऐसा माहौल बनाए कि सेफ्टी हो, कि अगर वहाँ पर इस तरीके का एजुकेशन हो जाए, वहाँ पर इस तरीके का माहौल हो जाए, ये यूनिवर्सिटीज़ वहाँ आ जाएं, तो फिर इनको यहाँ नहीं आना पड़े। सो एजुकेशन इन ऑस्ट्रेलिया पॉसिबल, नॉट सो टफ, मॉडरेट, बट इट्स बिकमिंग ईजियर। दैट्स द काइंड ऑफ feedback, and these are largely first timers, you know, fresh off the block into Sydney in Australia, and so far they're smiling. They're saying, okay, we're ready to tough it out. What we need to do is I need to come back a year later and ask this same group, आप लोग सब कैमरा में कहते हैं, आप में से कितने लोग कहते हैं, you know, like her, that it's okay, it's 1.5 years and I'm still smiling. So wonderful talking to all of you. Thank you so much. Well, now I'm in conversation with J&J, Justin, but both of them doing two very different things. One is setting up shop in India, the other one is helping Indian entrepreneurs set up shop in Australia. So let me start with you, Justin. Yeah, you're setting up a plant in Surat, and it's filtration systems.
That's right, yes. We make technical textiles for environmental filtration, and we're setting up a plant in Surat as we speak.
So you said about 5 decades of manufacturing in Australia, and you have capacities in China and also in Brazil. So what made you turn towards India?
Two reasons. One, the market in India is growing quite rapidly, so we see very good potential now, but also in the future for the Indian market domestically. But also we see it as a good source of a location for export to other markets, both those close by like the Middle East, but also globally as well, with availability of labour, lower cost of labour, land, etc., etc. They're all the reasons why we decided that India was the next place for us to develop a plant in.
But you chose India after China and Brazil. Why was that? India is always a large market.
Well, I mean, we've been in Brazil for 30 years. We've been in China for 15. So it was sort of a logical step forward, I think. And in our category, those markets are more advanced, have been more advanced than India. But we are seeing, higher technology and lower standards of environmental protection, meaning harder to obtain in India. So that's the timing is right for us to look at India now, whereas 10 years ago the circumstances probably weren't the right ones for us.
How easy or difficult has it been to set up shop in India compared to China and in Brazil?
It's been challenging. There's no doubt about that. everywhere's challenging. It's just in a different way. So obviously, it's the fact that the English language is spoken broadly has meant that there's certain easy ways or certain things are easier. But then there's other particular nuances that we're kind of learning along the way, which have made it more challenging than perhaps we expected in some areas.
Just there are Indian entrepreneurs who are now looking at Australia. You've been in the pharmaceutical sector.
Specifically in the pharmaceutical sector, that's interesting, right? Because in India, pharmaceutical companies are the poster child for, setting up plants all over the world, running big international divisions. And Australia has always been a bit of a marginal market for them. US, Europe were kind of the key target markets. But I think now with more political, relationship improving, business relationship improving, and the Australian government being very conscious of pharmaceutical prices, a lot of Indian companies are focused on Australia. And what I do at Health Advisors is just help them with acquisitions. If they want to acquire a business here or they want to acquire a brand to build in the local market, but also the other way around, because suddenly Australian vitamins, supplements, beauty products, natural beauty products are a good source for the Indian consumer market, which is naturally gravitating upwards at higher price points, premium products, etc. So it's a very dynamic market. I mean, the number of queries I've got in this sort of sector, specifically from India over the last few years, has been quite a lot. Traditionally, most of my clients have come from Europe and the US. But it's a very dynamic market. I'm very excited about it.
How easy or difficult is it to do business with Indians and business in India?
Look, well, on the first part, so I think the big challenge for Indian companies, and it's not for in general, but more for the Australian market, is that India is a huge market, and if you get it right, you can be very successful. But really, your business models are built around volume and lower price points, so you can get more customers. Australia being a smaller market, you got to think a bit differently. You got to think of less volume, higher price points, and sometimes it's a bit of a strategic challenge for them. But people are learning, right? But that's a bigger opportunity for Australian companies also to think, rethink their models and say, look, I want to get into the Indian market. I may have to re-engineer my product to be a bit cheaper. There are people here in Australia who have an Indian business for the last 20 years. Right. But they sell in tens of thousands, where literally they could sell in millions.
One big hurdle which you would want to go away so that more people can set up shop in India? One big hurdle out of the many that you've faced.
I think the biggest one for us has been transparency of process. We've struggled to understand, to achieve this outcome, you need to do this, this and this. Usually we've got to the first stage and then the next stage emerges and then the next stage. So the transparency of the process to achieve a particular outcome, whether it's a factory approval, whether it's applying for your GST codes, just the ability to understand what is it going to take to get to that outcome has probably been the biggest challenge, and knowing to ask all of the questions rather than just the next question.
Next question, great. Once again, see the aspect of transparency of process and the outlook. Here when you come in, you look at it as a high price market, low volume. When you come to India, look at it as a low price market and high volume. So these are aspects that are important for both sides to consider. Justin and Just, thank you very much. Thank you. You've got a story which everybody is envious about. The first thing I was told when I came to Sydney is that if there's one place you need to see is Mr. Bhojwani's house. But मैं आपसे जानना चाहता हूँ, and I want you to tell us that it all started with literally nothing, isn't it, back in the 80s? आप कब आए थे? When did you first come here?
Came here in 79 actually.
79,
yes.
Wow. Okay.
But didn't like it. Was homesick because you couldn't see many Indians here, or it was like very lonely. Isolation, lonely, and then you just on your own. तो कुछ समझ में नहीं आया. Can you use Hindi?
Yeah, बिल्कुल.
हाँ, तो ज़्यादा कुछ समझ में नहीं आया. गोरे लोग and all that, not used to that. No food. Indian restaurant only one. Fijian Indian restaurant selling very totally different kind of food. So went back. Didn't like it. So that's when I got my visa during Fraser's time. So Fraser was the Prime Minister at that time. McKellar was the Immigration Minister.
Wow, that's a long time ago.
Long time, yes. So then since I had the permanent visa, so I had to come. I felt that I should be coming here. Don't lose this visa, which is so difficult to get. So I kept coming here every year, but then never liked it. So somehow got settled in '83. So formed my company with almost nothing. Nobody can own Syndey, but I must say I met a guy from South Africa not long, about 20 years ago. And one thing he told me, and which is stuck with me, and which I will tell anybody, there is no place like Syndey.
There is
no place in the world.
No place like Syndey.
No, it's such a beautiful city. It's such a lovely country. It gives equal opportunity to everyone, which our Prime Minister wants to do. Give equal opportunity to everyone. I'm a fan of Modi, so I wouldn't speak more in favor of him, but he is my idol. So more or less same wavelength. So my Prime Minister is Anthony Albanese, but as Indian Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, he is an amazing person, amazing. So his vision is my vision. So more or less he's doing what I would do. So I can relate to that. And I'm totally in favor of that. Because he's not for you, me, or him, He's for everyone. So whoever is 140 crore, उनको संभालना. India is such a diverse country. इसमें it's like a zoo.
Correct.
So शेर भी है, चीता भी है, बड़ा भालू भी है, बेचारी हिरन भी है, जो कुछ भी नहीं करता, खरगोश भी है. तो इतने सारे जानवर हैं, अलग अलग, सॉरी टू से जानवर, मतलब अलग अलग लोग हैं उधर. आप कहीं भी चले जाओ, इट्स लाइक होल यूरोप, होल वर्ल्ड इज इन इंडिया. टू कंट्रोल दैट कंट्री इज नॉट इजी.
We are here. I'm here because of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's impending visit. You're looking forward to that visit, and what are the expectations?
Well, it's a very exciting visit for Australia. This is the second time that Prime Minister Modi has been to Australia. And this year, Prime Minister Albanese will travel to India twice during the course of the year. And that speaks to the great state of Australia-India relations and the closeness between our two countries.
There's a big interaction with the Indian diaspora that's being planned at the Kudos Bank Arena. Are you going to be a part of it?
I am, yes. I know the Indian diaspora in Australia is very excited about the visit of the Prime Minister. Australia has a wonderful Indian diaspora of nearly 1 million people in Australia have Indian heritage. That means 1 in every 25 Australians has some Indian heritage.
So how many people have called you who have never reached out to you in the last few days saying, Andrew, can you find me a seat?
Everybody wants tickets to the Modi event. And I say, look, I can get you tickets to Taylor Swift. I can get you tickets to Harry Styles, but I cannot get you tickets to Narendra Modi.
You were also involved in helping the BAPS temple clean up. So that's another issue which has become quite rampant in the recent past. How would you see this rising extremism, especially these kind of elements targeting Hindu institutions?
Well, we have a wonderful Indian diaspora in Australia. And the most important thing about Australia is that everybody, no matter what their faith, is able to practice their religion in peace. And there is no place in Australia for religious acts of extremism of any kind. And I've been really heartened by the way that the whole community has reacted to the events we've had in Sydney over the last couple of weeks and in Melbourne a few months ago. Everybody's reacted with a spirit of peace and calm, and that's exactly what we want. We respect the sovereignty of India, and the referendum has no standing in Australia. We can't really be clearer than that about our respect for India and our respect for India's sovereignty. Everybody in Australia has a right to political activism, they have a right to freedom of speech. The important question for us in Australia is that all of that occurs according to the law. That there is no breaking of the law, there is no vandalism, there is no violence. And so I've been really pleased in the way that the entire community has reacted to some of the tensions in a very peaceful way, playing down those tensions and making sure that we have the ongoing harmony in the Australian community.
Somewhere the concern is that the authorities have been a little soft on that. They've not cracked down or they've not protected institutions as much as they should. Would you say that criticism is fair?
No, I wouldn't. Certainly state and federal authorities in Australia have been investigating these crimes, and let's call them what they are crimes, and making sure that we do our best to bring the perpetrators to justice. We've released a video of some of the events. I myself went straight down to the temple as soon as I was aware of it, gave my respects to the temple and assisted them in the clean-up process, and I know other members of the government have done exactly the same thing to show their solidarity with the people in that case from the BAPS community, who are such a wonderful part of our community and are such that they are the epitome of harmony and kindness and gentleness, and it's important for us that we respect them and show them that we support them.
What is this Little India project all about? Let me ask you that. You're going to tell us that. This is happening in your constituency?
Absolutely. For anyone who has not been to Sydney and has not visited Harris Park in Sydney, they need to come down. Harris Park is a place in Sydney that we call Little India. The few streets around Wigram and Marion Street. It is full of Indian sari shops, Indian jewellery shops, Indian restaurants, Indian supermarkets. It is really the hub of South Asian culture in Australia.
Now Australia is going through a bit of a churn given what's happening geopolitically, the argy-bargy with China, coming together of the Quad. How do you see India-Australia equations and also the Quad developing and strengthening? And perhaps reducing, on the one hand, de-dollarization is being talked about, on the other hand is also unhinging and moving away from a one-China policy.
Well, look, from my perspective, India is an emerging superpower in the world, and Australia needs to have a very strong relationship with India. We have a lot in common. We have common history, we have common languages, we have a huge diaspora in Australia, and we have a lot of things that bind us together. I think Australia does need to lift its trade with India. At the moment, Australia's trade with India is about 1/10 of the trade with China. So any opportunities we have to create business-to-business links, to reduce the frictions in trade and support more investment are going to be very important for us, and I think the diaspora also has a really important part to play in that.
Do you see steps being taken towards a full-time free trade agreement with India?
Absolutely, and this free trade agreement has been a long time in the works. I remember travelling to New Delhi when I was advisor to Prime Minister Rudd to kick off negotiations on a comprehensive partnership, and it's been more than 10 years to get to the end of this free trade deal that we have now. But I think for me, it really is an important deal, but it's a deal that we can continue to extend.
Are you a cricket fan?
I am, yeah, looking forward to it.
So who's your favourite cricketer?
Well, I have to say that in Australia, I'm a big fan of somebody who is very big in India, who is Shane Watson. And he was IPL Player of the Year a couple of times, I think. He's a really nice man. He loves India. In fact, I think he might even be in India at the moment.
Yes.
And he's been really valuable to me in terms of teaching me about cricket, but also Australia's cricketing relationship with India.
With India. But Shane Watson is in the dugout, and he's not going to be out in the middle when India and Australia face off at the World Test Championship. So are you calling dibs on who's taking that?
Look, no, I think it'll be very fascinating to watch. But I think India's been playing extremely well. Australia's had a very long period where of a good rivalry between Australia and India. And I think that the Indian team is in a fantastic position at the moment.
Andrew, fantastic speaking with you. Thank you so much. On a Sunday, you've taken out time to chat with us. I look forward to seeing you there on the 23rd.
Great pleasure. Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Thank you. Thanks, Andrew. He's a very familiar face, especially among the Indian diaspora and also in India, because he has always been a champion of greater equations between India and Australia, and especially very popular among the Indian diaspora here in Australia, especially in Sydney. Julian Lee, sir, abhi bhi Hindi aapko yaad hai? You still remember the Hindi and Gujarati? The last time around you made the attempt. Lovely to meet you again.
It's always good to try and say a few words in Hindi. Namaste. मेरा नाम जुलियन है मेरा लोकसभा क्षेत्र के सांसद हूँ parliamentary friends of India का अध्यक्ष भी हूँ.
Yes.
Welcome. स्वागत है.
Swagat hai. Fantastic. So sometimes you don't know whether you need to speak to him in Hindi or should we speak in English itself. But Julian, always a pleasure to see you. Thank you for your time.
And I'm great to have you here.
Let me ask you, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's arrival this time in Sydney, just is around the cusp of him completing 9 years in government. Why is it significant for you from an Australian perspective?
Well, it's always very exciting to have Prime Minister Modi here in Australia. As a private citizen, even before I was a Member of Parliament, I went to see him when he came here last time, and it's hard to imagine any other political leader being able to fill a stadium of expats and people who are interested in the relationship, but that's Prime Minister Modi. And I think in that time since his last major visit here to Australia, there has been such a growth in the relationship. I mean, now India is so close to us, whether it's through the Quad, whether it's the free trade deal that we've done, whether it's the comprehensive strategic partnership, whether it's the defence and security relationship. As I've said many times, the Australia-India relationship is an unalloyed good. Having Prime Minister Modi here is a great celebration of that relationship.
But there is also challenges that the Indian diaspora has been facing recently. You know, there's been a spurt of attacks, especially against the Hindu institutions. It's targeted with a secessionist message, and it's not religious. You could see it's, you know, political and also secessionist in its tone. Why do you see that happening, and is enough being done to stop it?
I think it's really important to stand for people's right to practice their religion free from harassment, and that sort of conduct has no place in Australia. Look, these issues in Australia are important. Australia is a great multicultural country, like India is too. And one of the things we have in Australia, what makes our success, is that we've brought people here from all parts of the globe, but we say to people, leave the tensions from home at home, where you came from. Be proud of your heritage, nothing wrong with that. But when you come to Australia, it's really important that everybody works in together. I think of my own life. I'm a Jew. I was educated by Anglicans. I worked for the Catholic Church. My best friend's a Muslim, and I love to spend my weekends going to mandis and gurdwaras. So, yeah, that's the Australian story.
But these elements, why are they being allowed in Australia? Should Australia be a place where such elements, irrespective of agenda against any nation or anybody, should they have an open area to come?
Well, we have a basic principle in Australia that you can come here as long as you obey our laws, but if you engage in violent extremism, there's no place for you here. And one of the things that I know successive ministers for immigration, whether it was Peter Dutton or whether it was Alex Hawke on our side, have deported people where they have engaged in acts of violent extremism. That doesn't have any place in this country.
How do you see India-Australia trade equations going forward? You know, Parliament is going to start in session. There, you know, the government and the opposition are at loggerheads on various issues. But you mentioned the fact that what was started under your government is being carried forward. How do you see this relationship going further?
I think there were great steps taken forward as a result of the free trade agreement, particularly in relation to international education. There's some movement in relation to wine, which was good. I'd like to see a little bit more movement in that space. But I think, you know, the opportunity is there for us to do so much together. India is the world's great technology superpower. We are a critical minerals superpower. I want to see the two countries working together more in that space to help regulate the future of technology, because if our countries work together, they will ensure that the future of technology is free and open, in accordance with the values that we have, rather than the values of some of our strategic competitors.
You're off to Canberra for Parliament.
I am indeed.
Are you coming back to Sydney on Tuesday?
I'm coming back to Sydney especially for Prime Minister Modi. I'm looking forward to meeting him. I'm looking forward to him to saying to him Swagat Hai. So
you got a spot fixed at the Quarters Bank Arena, because everybody's looking for a spot inside.
Oh, look, I'm sure I'll have to elbow my way through the 16,000 people that will be there. But I hope to say hello, and just to hear him is always such an inspiration.
How is he able to draw such crowds?
Well, look, I think there's a couple of things. The first is that the Indian diaspora here has expanded rapidly overnight. And, you know, every time I've heard the Prime Minister speak, or I've heard one of his ministers speak, that's always been such a theme of theirs. Yeah. And so I think people are keen to hear that message again and keen to see him. I know that's one of the reasons I'm keen to hear from him. He's also just a great showman too. I mean, I think there's a lot about political technology that we in Australia can learn from India. And I, as a practising parliamentarian, I'm pleased that the next Indian elections are unlikely to be when our elections are, so maybe I can go over and experience the carnival that is in.
So you want to come for Lok Sabha 2024?
Absolutely.
All right, here on Network 18 we are giving you an open invitation. You'll be our guest and we'll take you around. Our entire team of reporters is going to be across the length and breadth of the country. So you name your city, you name your state, and we'll take you there.
I'd love to be there. Thanks, Anand.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Julian. Lovely speaking with you. Thank you. Just about a 30-minute drive from this beautiful looking Sydney Harbour Bridge on the evening sky here at Sydney is the Kudos Bank Arena. That's going to be the venue of the grand reception that's been organized by the Indian Diaspora for Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So the Indian-Australian Diaspora coming together to set this up. And guess what? It's a million-plus strong diaspora here. The capacity of the Kudos Bank Arena is just 20,000 people, and it's packed to the rafters. But that's the adulation, and perhaps that's the love that Prime Minister Narendra Modi gets from the Indian diaspora wherever he's gone. Why? I think one of the critical aspects the Indian diaspora that I have spoken to while I have been here in Sydney say is that he's instilled a certain sense of pride and also belonging. They're not forgotten. They're not people who are just used because you are here to do something. He has used them, used their equity, used the Indian diaspora to spread and take the story of India forward. And he's also turned around and told them that India will back you. No Indian left behind, and India is always your home, and India is always there for you. This confidence that he has given, he's also helped the diaspora. He's helped the diaspora when evacuations had to be done in Yemen. He helped the diaspora in Ukraine when their children were stuck and they had to be moved out. He's helped the diaspora. He's helped the Indian citizens, Indian families when there was crisis in Sudan. But I think more importantly, it's his vision. It's his tireless commitment to India. That's what they believe, is perhaps that hooks them, saying that how is this man so passionate about my country, and if he can do it, why can't I? So these are the aspects which perhaps are the reason why the Kudos Bank Arena is sold out. There's a reason why this man is so popular, and that's because he's able to connect with every individual member who only see their love for him and perhaps their admiration for him growing over the last 9 years. 9 years in government, 9 years in power, 9 years, still the favourite to pack in stadiums. That's Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
Courtney about James Marape touching PM Modi's feet as a mark of respect. Listen in.
We saw that how Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea gave a very emotional reception to Prime Minister Modi by touching his feet as a remark of respect for Prime Minister Modi. How would you like to react to it? Because in India, it has been received very well, and it also talks about the confidence that nations like Papua New Guinea and in fact the other Pacific nations are showing on Prime Minister Modi's leadership.
Yes, you know, it is our tradition to show emotion to our very best friends, and tears automatically rolls down our eyes. And this is the expression that Prime Minister expressed tonight as Prime Minister set foot on PNG soil. And we are very happy. And it is tears of joy that has moved India, and we are so proud that these tears will move our countries forward.
Ambassador, before 2014, the Pacific Islands were not on the radar of Indian foreign policy makers. After Prime Minister Modi coming to power, the engagements have increased.
Of course, India can play a greater role for the Pacific because Pacific occupies one-third of the world's ocean and land mass. So the people and the islands are small, but India can make an impact. And Prime Minister Modi's trip to the Pacific signals that step in that direction, and we are really joyful that India's look east and act east policy will take footage in the Pacific after the FIPIC 3 forum, which starts in Port Moresby tomorrow. And tonight there are 14 Pacific Island countries, head of states here.
बहुत खुश हैं मोदी जी यहाँ पे आए, और हम चाह रहे हैं कि पापुआ न्यू गिनी और इंडिया का जो है रिलेशनशिप और बढ़िया हो, और इकोनॉमिक फ्रंट में, डिजिटलाइजेशन के फ्रंट में इट इज अ ग्रेट अचीवमेंट फॉर अस दैट ही हैज कम. वी आर ऑनर्ड, प्रिविलेज्ड, एंड थैंक यू मोदी जी. मजा आ गया यहाँ.
We would like to welcome Modi ji to PNG. We love you, and we hope that PNG will develop like India. Thank you.
He's a selfless leader. He is a global leader. And his coming to Papua New Guinea is very important for Papua New Guinea also.
We are blessed.
Because we have a lot of Khanij Padarth here, and so we can avail those facilities like gold, petrol, gas, and India can take the capacity building.
मोदी जी जब आए हैं तो यहाँ के लोग में भी इतनी उत्साह हो गई है कि प्राइम मिनिस्टर जैसे आपने देखा उनका पैर भी छुए. ये जो इज्जत यहाँ पे है वो इंडिया के लिए है, मोदी जी के कारण है. उन्होंने जिस तरह हमको दिया है, ये सम्मान जो हमको मिल रहा है मोदी जी के कारण मिल रहा है.
After engagements in Papua New Guinea, Prime Minister Modi will leave for Australia. CNN News 18's Anand Narsimhan spoke to Australian MP Julian Lee about PM Modi's upcoming visit. Listen in.
Minister Narendra Modi's arrival this time in Sydney just is around the cusp of him completing 9 years in government. Why is it significant for you from an Australian perspective?
Well, it's always very exciting to have Prime Minister Modi here in Australia. As a private citizen, even before I was a Member of Parliament, I went to see him when he came here last time, and it's hard to imagine any other political leader being able to fill a stadium of expats and people who are interested in the relationship, but that's Prime Minister Modi. And I think in that time since his last major visit here to Australia, there has been such a growth in the relationship. I mean, now India is so close to us, whether it's through the Quad, whether it's the free trade deal that we've done, whether it's the comprehensive strategic partnership, whether it's the defence and security relationship. As I've said many times, the Australia-India relationship is an unalloyed good. Having Prime Minister Modi here is a great celebration of that relationship.
CNN News 18's Anand Narsimhan also spoke to Australian MP Andrew Charlton about PM Modi's visit to Australia. Listen in.
What are the expectations?
Well, it's a very exciting visit for Australia. This is the second time that Prime Minister Modi has been to Australia. And this year, Prime Minister Albanese will travel to India twice during the course of the year. And that speaks to the great state of Australia-India relations and the closeness between our two countries.
There's a big interaction with the Indian diaspora that's being planned at the Kudos Bank Arena. Are you going to be a part of it?
I am, yes. I know the Indian diaspora in Australia is very excited about the visit of the Prime Minister. Australia has a wonderful Indian diaspora of nearly 1 million people in Australia have Indian heritage. That means 1 in every 25 Australians has some Indian heritage, which is an incredible national asset for Australia. And we're very excited about the Prime Minister coming and saying hello to quite a few thousand of them.
So how many people have called you who have never reached out to you in the last few days saying, Andrew, can you find me a seat?
Everybody wants tickets to the Modi event. And I say, look, I can get you tickets to Taylor Swift. I can get you tickets to Harry Styles, but I cannot get you tickets to Narendra.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has made history by becoming the first ever Indian Prime Minister to visit the small island nation of Papua New Guinea. PM Modi held a meeting with his counterpart James Marape, and together they co-hosted a significant summit between India and 14 Pacific Island countries aimed at enhancing bilateral ties.
Prime Minister Modi and all the leaders of Pacific.
During the summit, Prime Minister Modi assured the small island states that India would stand as a reliable partner in the global supply chain and the pressing need of climate change.
मुझे खुशी है कि भारत इस चुनौतीपूर्ण समय में अपने पैसिफिक आइलैंड मित्रों से कंधा मिलाकर खड़ा रहा। जैसा मैंने पहले भी कहा है, मेरे लिए आप लार्ज ओशन कंट्रीज है। आपका यह महासागर ही भारत को आपके साथ जोड़ता है।
In a remarkable gesture, Prime Minister Narendra Modi received the highest honours of Papua New Guinea and Fiji, marking a rare distinction for a non-resident in these two Pacific Island nations. The Pacific Islands even agreed to follow India's lead, henceforth at all global forums.
The world uses it for trade, commerce and movement. We are victims of global power play. We want you to be an advocate for us as you sit in those meetings and continue to fight for the rights of small emerging nations and emerging economies. India and Pacific relationship is entrenched and strengthened.
but more importantly, the issues that are facing the Pacific Island nations, especially the smaller ones amongst us, are heard in its right context and given support by you, the leader of the Global South.
Surangal also conferred PM Narendra Modi with the esteemed Ibakal Award, recognizing his contributions and leadership. But the highlight of the Prime Minister's visit was perhaps right at the start. The minute he touched down, in an unprecedented break of protocol, Papua New Guinea's Prime Minister James Marape humbly touched PM Modi's feet, symbolizing reverence and honor, as he welcomed him to the Pacific Island nation for a successful 24-hour visit.
Are you satisfied that the Congress is in a position, if not to emerge as the single largest party?
Without any support, we will form a government.
The million-dollar question, who is going to be Chief Minister?
Why you are worried about the Chief Minister?
Had you not quit, then the numbers would have been very different.
Definitely. Let's bring it up one by one as to what worked for the Congress.
The BJP has 38% vote share, so they are up by 2% from the last time around. Congress has moved up at least about 6 to 7% in vote share.
Out of the 28 sitting MLAs who were dropped, the BJP won only 13.
The Congress kept this election extremely local. So there were local leaders focusing on local issues. Bajrang Bali gambit that we have been saying, this led to the consolidation of the Muslim votes, the triangular contest becoming a bipolar contest.
Good evening, this is Brass Tacks and Zakir Jacob. The 2,000 rupee note can now be exchanged or deposited starting tomorrow. You can go to your nearest bank branch and either deposit it in your account or exchange up to 10 notes at a time. The RBI Governor, Shaktikanta Das, today held a press conference and he said that there's no need to panic and that a large majority of the common people do not have 2,000 rupee notes. When asked what was the rationale behind putting a deadline, the 30th of September, so that people can either exchange or deposit these 2,000 rupee notes, even though these notes will continue to be legal tender even after that date, the RBI governor said that there needed to be some